Hi everyone. In this video, let me cover up the remaining bit questions of operation management. In the previous videos, already the choose the correct answer and match the following aspect is completed. Now, let us move on to the another aspect where they are telling state whether the following are true or false. Means they are given the statements. Those particular statements, whether they are true or false, we need to identify. Okay, first let us move on to statement 1. Let us move on to statement 1. What they are telling, merit rating is used to determine the cost of a product. See, actually merit rating is what? It is one of the technique of job evaluation. It is one of the technique of job evaluation. Merit rating. But what they are telling, it is used to determine the cost of the product. Whether it is correct? No, the statement is wrong, false. Because what is the reason? Merit rating is one of the method of job evaluation. So accordingly, the statement is wrong. So just you can take down 1 false. Now moving on to statement number 2. Moving on to statement number 2. What is that telling? Project cost increases as the duration of the project increases. See what they are telling? When the project cost, what is the cost will be incurred to complete a particular project, what they are telling increases as the duration of the project increases. Yes, it is true, because if the duration increases means again the project cost also increases, because what happens, all the indirect costs and all the direct costs and also are going to get increased. So accordingly, if the duration of the project increases means simultaneously the project cost also increases. So take down point number 2 true. Point number 2 true. Now moving on to point number 3. Moving on to point number 3. What they are telling? In carrying out job evaluation studies, point system is best method. What they are telling? Whenever a job evaluation is done, okay, what they are telling, in carrying out job evaluation studies, point system is the best method they are telling. What is point system? It is one of the point method we can tell. It is extension of the factor comparison method. What is point system? How we are having the like merit rating, all other methods. This point method of job evaluation, whatever is there, we can just tell it is the extension of what? Factor comparison method. Each factor will be divided into different level of degrees. For each and every level, they are going to assign the points. For each and every level, they are going to assign the jobs. And what they are going to do for each job, they are going to rate using the job evaluation instrument. Whatever the jobs will be performed, for each and every job, they are going to rate using job evaluation instrument. And later what they are going to do, whatever the points they are going to assign for each factor, later they are going to find the total and they are going to obtain the total point score for the each job. They are going to obtain the total point score for each job. So accordingly what happens, the point system will be considered as the best system under job evaluation. So accordingly the statement 3 is true. The statement 3 is true. Now moving on to statement 4. Moving on to statement 4. What's that telling? Production planning and control is essentially concerned with the control of finished goods. See, production planning and control. Under production planning and control, what they will be concerned? They will be concerned on how much quantity of products they have to manufacture, what should be the quality, at what time they need to manufacture, and they are going to concentrate on the what are the different various processes has to be involved in the process of production. Whether they are going to cover only the essential of control of finished goods? No. So accordingly, the statement 4 is false. Accordingly, the statement 4 is false. Okay, now let us move on to statement 5. Let us move on to statement 5. What they are telling? A productivity index is a device of expressing the ratio between output and the inputs of the resources numerically. Yes, it is true. What is productivity? As we know, productivity is going to provide the relationship between the output obtained to that of the various inputs whatever they have utilized. Output obtained to the various input whatever they have utilized, that we are going to call it as productivity. So accordingly, the statement 5, whatever they are given, it is true. So statement 5, take down, it is true. Now moving on to point 6. Moving on to point 6. What they're telling, if the total float value is 0, it means the resources are just sufficient to complete the activity without delay. Yes, it is true. How we are going to calculate total float? Total float where we are going to calculate in CPM. When we are going to evaluate the projects with the help of CPM, that is critical path method, we are going to calculate what? Total float. Usually the total float on the critical path, the total float value on the critical path will be 0. How we are going to calculate total float? Total float will be the difference between latest finish time and earliest finish time. How to calculate total float? It will be the difference between latest finish time and earliest finish time, or latest start time and earliest start time. Latest start time and earliest start time, we are going to obtain total float. So usually why we are going to obtain 0 means, under at critical path the total float we are going to obtain 0 means it indicates whatever the resources are available, whatever the resources will be available in the organization, if those particular resources, if they are sufficient to complete the each and every activity on the critical path, in that situation what we are going to obtain on the total float, the value will be 0. So accordingly, the statement 6, whatever they are given, it is true. Whatever they are given, it is true. Next, moving on to statement 7. Moving on to statement 7. What they are telling? Method study should precede work measurement. Means before performing the work measurement in a particular organization, they should study what? Method study has to be made. They have to make the method study. What is method study? We can tell it is a process of subjecting work to systematic critical scrutiny to make more effective or more efficient. We are going to call it as method study. Means which all the methods will be implicated in a particular organization to complete the job. Studying all that methods, we are going to call it as method study. Usually in a particular organization, after completion of method study itself, they are going to perform work measurements. So accordingly, they tell method study should precede. Means after completion, precede means first the method study has to be performed. Then they are going to perform what? Work measurement. So accordingly, the statement 7 is true. Accordingly, the statement 7 is true. Now moving on to statement 8. Moving on to statement 8. Increased productivity leads to cost reduction. As if the productivity increases means if they are able to obtain with the lesser inputs more output. With the lesser inputs, if they are able to more output, it is going to improve the productivity. Or with the same amount of input, if the same quantity of input, if they are able to increase the output. If they are able to increase the output, in the situation also what happens? The productivity is going to get increased. The productivity is going to increase. If the productivity increases means what happens? The cost is going to get reduced. The cost is going to get reduced. So accordingly, the statement 8, whatever they are given, it is true. The statement 8, whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to point 9. Moving on to point 9. What they're telling, a good materials handling system always consists of conveyors. See what they're telling? For a good material handling system, they always consist of conveyors. Sorry. For the material handling, when the conveyors will be utilized, when if it is a continuous production. If it is a continuous production means in the situation, conveyors they are going to utilize. Usually in intermediate production and all, like forklifts and all, they are going to utilize for the purpose of material handling. For the purpose of material handling, usually we cannot conclude that conveyors itself are going to be the good material handling system. Usually the conveyors will be the best part of material handling when it is a continuous production system. For intermediate production system and all, usually conveyors are not essential. So accordingly, the statement 9, whatever they are given, it is false. It is false. Now moving on to statement 10. Moving on to statement 10. What's that telling? It is desirable to conduct work measurement after method study. What's that telling? It is desirable to conduct work measurement after study. Very beautiful question. Already point 7 we covered. Point 7 what we covered? Method study should precede work measurement. Means once a method study is completed, only then we can perform what? Work measurement. Only then we can perform work measurement. See here point number statement 10. What they are telling? It is desirable to conduct work measurement after method study. Means once the method study is completed, only then the work measurement has to be performed. So again, tell me now whether the statement will be true or false. The statement will be true. The statement will be true. Now moving on to statement 11. Moving on to statement 11. What they are telling? Material handling is an integral part of sales process. See, material handling will be a part of what? Manufacturing process. Material handling will be done at the time of manufacturing. So we can tell it is a integral part of manufacturing process. But here what they given? Sales process. So accordingly, now tell me whether the statement is true or false. False. So accordingly, take down statement 11. False. Now moving on to statement 12. Moving on to statement 12. What they are telling? The time horizon selected for forecasting depends on time required for production cycle. See what they are telling? Whatever the time horizon selected for forecasting, it is going to depend on the time required for production cycle. Means usually, as we know, the forecasting can be done in how many different duration? 3. It may be for short term forecasting, it may be for medium term forecasting, or it may be for long term forecasting. Usually that time deciding the term of forecasting, it is going to depend on for what aspect the forecasting they are going to perform. For what aspect they are going to perform the forecasting, on that basis the time horizon they are going to decide. But here what they are telling, it is required for production. By taking into consideration only the production cycle, no, it cannot be the only factor. So accordingly, the statement 12, whatever they are given, it is false. Statement 12, whatever they are given, it is false. Now let us move on to statement 13. Now let us move on to statement 13. What is it telling? Rooker plan is a group incentive plan. See, actually, Rooker plan is one of the gain sharing program. The main object of that particular Rooker plan will be to reduce the production cost. By how they try to reduce the production cost means by correlating the labor cost to that of the cost of production. How they try to reduce the production cost? They are going to try to correlate the labor cost to that of the production cost. In that manner, usually the Rooker plan will be applicable as a group incentive plan. As a group incentive plan. Yes, whatever the given Rooker plan is, what they're telling, it's a group incentive plan, as they are going to take into consideration the labor cost as well as production. Labor cost will be taken into consideration to determine the cost of production. So accordingly, we can tell Rooker plan is one of the method of group incentive plan. So accordingly, the statement 13 is correct. Statement 13 is correct. Now moving on to statement 14. Now let us move on to statement 14. What they're telling, assignment problem is solved by Johnson's and Bellman method. Again, assignment problem, there is a method called Johnson's. Whatever the assignment technique, we are going to solve under linear programming for the purpose of assigning the jobs to the various workers who are available in the organization, or for assigning the various job to the available equipment. Again, it can be solved by one of the method called Johnson and Bellman method. So whatever the statement they are given, it is true. Again, whatever the statement they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 15. Moving on to statement 15. What they're telling, preventive maintenance is useful in reducing inspection cost. Usually preventive maintenance will be carried on for what? Equipments and machineries which will be utilized in the process of production, and with the help of preventive maintenance, which cost can be reduced? The breakdown cost can be reduced. But what they are given, inspection cost. Now tell me whether the statement is true. No. Again, the statement is false. So the statement 15, consider false. Statement 15 is false. Now moving on to statement 16. Moving on to statement 16. What they're telling, customer service is a key objective of operation management. Yes, as we know, the main objective of operation management is what? Customer satisfaction and optimum utilization of resources. See here what they're telling, customer service is a key objective of operation management. Yes, the statement is true. So accordingly, take down, the statement is true. Now moving on to statement 17. Moving on to statement 17. What they're telling, in general, short-term forecasting will be more useful in production planning. What they're telling, in general, which term of forecasting will be more useful in production planning? Short-term forecasting. As we know, in objectives and all also we covered, usually for production planning, which term forecasting will be applicable? Short-term forecasting will be applicable. So accordingly, the statement 17, whatever they are given, it is true. Statement 17, whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 18. Moving on to statement 18. What they are telling? Job evaluation is a systematic approach to ascertain the labor worth of a job. Yes, it is true. In job evaluation, what they are going to do? For the work, whatever the job has to be completed, for to complete that particular job, which labor has to be appointed? What should be the qualification of that particular labor? What should be his work experience? All those will be considered in job evaluation. So whatever they are telling, job evaluation is a systematic approach to ascertain the labor worth of a job. Accordingly, the statement 18, whatever they are given, it is true. Statement 18, whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 19. Moving on to statement 19. What they're telling, load control is typically found wherever a particular bottleneck machine does not exist in the process of manufacturing. See what they're telling, load control where it is going to exist, where they are telling wherever a bottleneck machine does not exist. See, usually when the particular bottleneck machine is exist, in that situation the load control is going to exist, but here what they are telling, it does not exist, they are telling. So accordingly, the statement 19, whatever they are given, it is false. Whatever they are given, it is false. Now moving on to statement 20. Moving on to statement 20. What they are telling, the term aesthetics, which appeals to the human sense, does not add value to the product. Does not add value to the product. What is the meaning of aesthetic? Aesthetic means where they are going to provide more emphasis to the beauty and the appearance. That we are going to call it as what? Aesthetic. Here what they are telling, will appeal to human sense, does not add value to the product. False. Because nowadays what is happening? What the customers, they doesn't feel, the customers, they are not going to prefer only the quality. Along with that, they prefer for the good appearance of the product. They prefer for what? Good appearance for the product. Here what they are telling, does not add value to the product they are telling. So accordingly the statement will be what? False. Statement will be false. Now let us move on to statement 21. Let us move on to statement 21. What they are telling, production planning is an essential function in a factory. Yes, in a particular manufacturing unit, without performing the production planning, they cannot decide how much quantity of products has to be manufactured, which products has to be manufactured, how it has to be manufactured. Without making the required planning, the production cannot be carried on. So accordingly the statement 21, whatever the argument, it is true. So accordingly take down, the statement is true. Now moving on to statement 22. Moving on to statement 22. What they are telling? Training boosts employee morale. Yes, when the training is given, so automatically how it is going to facilitate the employee? It is going to add on. It is going to add on some new skills. Some new skills will be added to the worker. So accordingly it is going to boost the employee morale. So accordingly the statement 22, whatever the argument is true. The statement 22, whatever the argument is true. Now moving on to statement 23. Moving on to statement 23. What they are telling, when demand does not exist in the market, we should start production incentives. The statement is false. If the demand is not available in the market, means they have to identify why the demand is not there, whether they are able, whatever is manufactured, whether they are able to manufacture as per the, whether they are able to manufacture as per the customer needs or what, as per the needs of the customers or not, they need to check. Instead of that, they cannot start the production incentives. So accordingly the statement is false. Accordingly the statement is false. Now let us move on to statement 24. Let us move on to statement 24. What they are telling, a work stoppage generally reduces the cost of production. See, if the work has stopped, means whether the cost of production will be reduced? No, because it is not going to reduce. In fact, if the work has stopped in middle, means again, if they are going to start up to meet up the required demand, means usually the cost of production is going to increase. It is not going to decrease. So accordingly what happens? The statement 24, whatever the argument is false. Statement 24, the argument is false. Now moving on to statement 25. Moving on to statement 25. What they are telling? No handling is the best handling. No handling is the best handling. Actually, the statement will be true. Statement will be true. Statement will be true. Now moving on to statement 26. Statement 26. What they are telling? Job evaluation is used to measure absolute job worth. False it is. Usually in job evaluation what happens? in job evaluation, what happens, they are going to evaluate the job, and whatever the labor has been assigned that particular job, it is appropriate or not, they are going to check yes or no. So here, but what they're telling, they are going to measure only the job worth it or not. So accordingly, what happens, the statement 26, whatever they are given, it is false. Statement 26, whatever they are given, it is false. Now moving on to statement 27. Now let us move on to statement 27. What they're telling, incentive scheme is introduced by management with a view to reduce direct labor cost. Usually why the incentive schemes will be given? So as to improve the involvement of the workers. So as to improve the involvement of the workers. So as to improve the efficiency of the workers. Usually the management is going to introduce what incentive system, not to reduce the direct labor cost. So accordingly, the statement whatever they are given, it is false. Accordingly, the statement whatever they are given, it is false. So take down false. Now moving on to statement 28. Moving on to statement 28. What they are telling? The increase in productivity can be attributed to the application of industrial engineering techniques, particularly the work study. See what they are telling? How the productivity can be increased, they are telling? It will be attributed when if the industrial engineering and techniques, if they are applying for the purpose of work study, means it is going to improve the productivity, they are telling. How we can improve the productivity? For the available inputs, with the available inputs, if we are able to produce more output, or for the same outputs, if we are able to utilize the less inputs in the situation, we can increase the productivity. Just by the application of engineering, applying the industrial engineering and techniques to the work study, we cannot increase the productivity. So accordingly, the statement see, by applying the industrial engineering and techniques to the work study, what happens, the time aspect, whatever the machine hours will be there, that can be reduced. That input factor, the machine hours, it can be reduced. So when the input reduces, for the available output, what happens, it is going to improve the productivity. It is going to improve the productivity. So accordingly, the statement 28, whatever the given, it is true. Statement 28, whatever the given, it is true. Now let us move on to statement 29. Let's move on to statement 29. What they're telling, operation process chart incorporates all 5 symbols. See what they're telling, operation process chart incorporate all 5 symbols. What is operation chart? We can tell it is one of the graphical or symbolic representation of the manufacturing operations which will be utilized to produce a product. Which will be utilized to produce a product, that we are going to call it as what? Operation chart. Usually in the operation process chart, what they are going to do, they are going to utilize whenever in operation process chart they are speaking. Usually like for process, one symbol like rectangle they use, and for inventory or warehouse like a triangle shape they use. Whenever there is a delay, another symbol they use. For taking the decision like diamond shape they use, and for material flow or movement like arrow mark they use. So total, usually how many symbols they use in operation process chart, they are going to utilize the 5 symbols to represent the process or to represent the inventory, to represent the delay, to represent the decision or to represent the process. Usually the 5 symbols will be utilized. So accordingly the statement 29 whatever they are given it is true. Statement 29 whatever they are given it is true. Now let us move on to statement 30. Let us move on to statement 30. What they are telling? Multiple activity chart deals with layout problems. What are multiple activity chart? Multiple activity chart are the process charts which are using a time scale, which will be utilizing a time scale. Usually that particular multiple activity charts will be utilized. It will becomes in the form of picture when work study man wants to record the activities of one subject with respect to the other on a single chart. Usually they are going to utilize what? Multiple activity chart. Means what particular labor has performed which job. To record that usually they are going to perform what? Multiple activity chart. Here what they are telling? Multiple activity chart deals with layout problem. Sorry, the statement whatever they given it is false, because with the help of multiple activity chart it is going to depict which particular work man has performed, which activity can be known. So accordingly the statement 30 whatever they given it is false. Whatever they given it is false. Now let us move on to statement 31. Let us move on to statement 31. Statement 31. What they are telling? Standard performance is a natural rate of working at an average operator when he works under proper supervision but without any financial motivation. So standard performance what they are telling is the natural rate of working an average operator when he works at the actually what is standard performance? What we can tell? We can tell the standard performance are one of the establishment of the organizations or the system standards or the targets or goals so as to improve the practices whatever is followed in the organization. So as to improve the practices whatever they have followed in the organization, that we are going to call it as what? Standard performance. That we are going to call it as what? Standard performance. Here what they are telling? Okay, here what they are telling? The standard performance, it's one of the natural rate of working and of an average operator they are telling. So according to the statement, whatever they are given, it is false. So accordingly take down the statement, it is false. Now moving on to statement 32. Moving on to statement 32. What they are telling? Allowances for non-availability. Allowances for non-availability of materials, power failure and breakdown of machines are provided for in a standard time of an operation or job. See what they're telling? Allowances will be provided when they're telling when there is a non-availability of material or when there is a power failure or breakdown of machines are provided in the standard time for an operation job. Sorry, the statement is what? False. Again, the statement 32, whatever they are given, it is false. Now, moving on to statement 33. Moving on to statement 33. What they are telling? It is justified to consider the effect of working condition both in work measurement and job evaluation. Yes, it may be in work measurement or in job evaluation. What they are going to perform? They are going to study about the work condition. What kind of job? What kind of job will be performed? They are going to take into consideration. Accordingly, the statement, whatever the statement 33, whatever they are given, it is true. Whatever the statement 33 they are given, it is true. Now let us move on to statement 34. Let us move on to statement 34. What they are telling? Increase in productivity deals in retrenchment of workforce. Sorry, due to increase in productivity, it is going to reduce the cost of production. It is not going to remove the workforce from the organization. So accordingly, the statement 34, whatever they are given, it is false. The statement 34, whatever they are given, it is false. Now let us move on to statement 35. Let us move on to statement 35. What they are telling? In a view of rapid technological advancement, we should not concentrate on labor productivity. See, when there is a higher technological advancement in an organization, what they are telling? We should not concentrate on labor productivity. Sorry, labors also. Without labors, again, the machineries cannot work on their own. The machineries cannot work on their own. So accordingly, the statement, whatever they are given, it is false. Because even though there is a technological advancement, they have to emphasize on the labor efficiency also will be taken into consideration. They cannot ignore the labor productivity. So accordingly, the statement 35, whatever they are given, it is false. Statement 35, whatever they are given, it is false. Now let us move on to statement 36. Let us move on to statement 36. What they're telling? Piece-based system is a substitute for proper supervision. Piece-based system is a proper substitution for proper supervision. False. Usually, so as to encourage the efficiency of the workers, usually the piece-based system they have given is not for the substitute. It is not going to act as a substitute for proper supervision. So accordingly, the statement 36, whatever they are given, it is false. Whatever they are given, it is false. Now let us move on to statement 37. Let us move on to statement 37. What they are telling? Personal manager has nothing to do with productivity. It is the job of technical personnel. See, personal manager means who? HR. HR will also be considered with the productivity because he has to consider what is the labor productivity is available. He has to take into consideration and how the incentives and all or how whatever the bonus will be fixed. How it has to be paid for that. Usually the HR manager itself will be involved. Here what they are telling, it is only the job of technical personnel they are telling. So accordingly, the statement 37, whatever they are given, it is false. Whatever they are given, it is false. Now moving on to statement 38. Moving on to statement 38. What they are telling? Ranking is one of the job evaluation technique. Yes, the ranking, with the help of ranking, the job evaluation will be done. So accordingly, the statement Accordingly, the statement 38, whatever they are given, it is true. Whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 39. Moving on to statement 39. What they are telling? Results available from what sampling study is not 100% accurate. Yes, that is true, because only the in whatever the inspection will be performed, whatever the study will be done, it will be done only for the sampling. On that basis, they are going to conclude on the whole data. Accordingly, we can tell it is not 100% accurate. Means it may be like above 80 to 90%, it may be accurate, but the complete 100% it cannot be accurate. So according to the statement 39, whatever the accuracy is true. Statement 39, whatever the accuracy is true. Now let us move on to statement 40. Let us move on to statement 40. What they are telling? Since breakdown of plant and machineries is a random phenomenon, it is impossible to do any work measurement in maintenance area. See what they are telling? Breakdown of plant and machinery is a random phenomenon. Yes. And it is impossible to do any work measurement in maintenance area. Sorry, it is false. Usually whenever there is a breakdown, happens, and in that area the other work can be performed, they are telling it is impossible to carry on the work measurement. So what is the statement they are given? 40, it is false. It is false. Now let us move on to statement 41. Let us move on to statement 41. What they are telling? Let us go through. 41. Job evaluation does not help in performance rating. There is no difference between method study and value engineering, they are telling. As job, with the help of job evaluation, performance rating cannot be done. Whatever they are telling, it is true. So according, and again, what they are telling, there is no difference under method study and value engineering. Yes, the statement, whatever they are given, it is true. Usually in method study also, what they are going to do, they are going to analyze the various methods, whatever is performed in the organization, whether it is efficient or not. Inefficient methods they try to eliminate. In value engineering also, what they try to do, they are going to analyze the each and every process of the organization, and whatever the unnecessary process will be there, they try to eliminate them. That is value engineering. So accordingly, we can tell there is no difference arises between method study and value engineering. So accordingly, the statement 41, whatever they are given, it is true. It is true. Now moving on to statement 42. Now moving on to statement 42. What they are telling? 200 process chart is the most suitable recording technique in electronic assembly industry. See, 200 process chart is the most suitable recording technique in electronic assembly industry, they are telling. Usually in the electronic assembly industries, what they are going to produce? They are going to produce like electronic gadgets like personal computers, or it may be the telephones, or it may be the MP3 players, or it may be the audio equipment, it may be the televisions, calculators, GPS, automotive electronics and all. Okay, or digital cameras or the recorders, which is going to use like DVDs, VCRs or camcorders, all those. So usually in that industries two-handed process chart will not be suitable. Will not be suitable. What is two-handed process chart? We can tell the two-handed process chart is a detailed process chart in which the activities of the worker hands or limbs will be recorded in their relationship with one another. Means whatever the activities the workers hand and limbs, how they are going to perform with one another, those will be recorded under two-hand process chart. That chart will not be suitable in electronic assembly industry. So accordingly the statement 42, whatever they are given it is false. Whatever they are given it is false. Now moving on to statement 43. Now moving on to statement 43. What they are telling? Do standard times allow for relaxation of the relaxation of the operators? Yes, when the standard types are available, automatically the operators will be knowing how much time it will be required to complete the job. Some estimated time will be known, so accordingly it is going to provide some relaxation to the operator. So accordingly the statement 43, whatever they are given it is true. The statement 43, whatever they are given it is true. Now moving on to statement 44. Now moving on to statement 44. Is a lift same as an elevator? Is both helps in carrying what men and material. So both can be considered as same. So accordingly, when you consider from the point of view of production unit, means it may be the lift or elevator, they both are going to facilitate the manufacturing unit in lifting the men and material. So accordingly, we can consider both are same. So according to the statement is true. See, when you consider like what is the features and all, it may differ. So when you consider from the usage purpose, both the lift and elevator will be same. Now let us move on to statement 45. Let's move on to statement 45. What they're doing is the use of metric system of weights and the measures compulsory in India? Yes, it is compulsory. Usually what happens, whatever the materials will be procured, usually what they do, to what quantity they have procured and all, they are going to measure it. They are going to weight it, and it is compulsory in India. Means to find the weight and measure the items, they are going to apply which system? Metric system itself. So accordingly the statement is true. Statement is true. Now moving on to statement 46. Let us move on to statement 46. What they are telling? Can the shaping machine be considered a versatile machine tool? What is shaping machine? Shaping machine, we can tell it is a machine which will be designed for giving a desired shape to the surfaces. It may be like horizontal, or it may be like vertical, or it may be in flat. With the help of shaping machine, the desired shapes can be given to the surfaces. And that shaping tool, whatever will be utilized in the shaping machine, they may be utilized to cut the surfaces into curves or the different angles or in different shapes as well. That particular machine we are going to call it as what? Shaping tool. Here what that link, can the shaping machine can be considered as versatile machine tool? No. Only it will be utilized for shaping the products, for giving a shape to the various surfaces. So accordingly we cannot tell the versatile. It cannot be utilized for all the purposes. So accordingly the statement 46, whatever they are given, it will be false. Statement 46, whatever they are given, it will be false. Now moving on to statement 47. Now let us move on to statement 47. What they are telling? Does the Factors Act in India allow the employment of women in all the industries? Factories Act in India. As per Factories Act in India, what is happening? There is a restrictions on women in few of the industries. Usually, the women cannot work. Usually, as per Factories Act, what happens? Employment of women in any part of the factory for pressing cotton or cotton opener at work for that nature and all, what happens? The women will not be allowed. See what they are asking. Does the Factories Act in India allow the employment of women in all the industries? No, the statement is false. The statement is false because in few industries it is not going to permit the women as per Factories Act. So accordingly the statement is false. Now let us move on to statement 48. Statement 48. What they are telling is break-even analysis is a management tool. True. Again, what is break-even analysis? With the help of break-even analysis, usually the organization will be able to predict. The organization will be able to predict after selling how many units they are going to earn the profit. Usually at break-even point, what happens? The total cost will be equal to total sales. Means after reaching which after reaching which point usually a particular organization will be earning can be analyzed with the help of break-even analysis. So accordingly we can consider it is one of the management tool. So the statement 48 is true. The statement 48 is true. Now moving on to statement 49. Now let us move on to statement 49. What they're telling, with increase in lot size, the setup cost per unit decreases, whereas the inventory carrying cost increases. See, when the lot size increases, when the lot size increases, a setup cost per unit is going to get decreased and inventory carrying cost increases. So the statement whatever they are given 49, it is true. So take down statement, it is true. Next, moving on to statement 50. Now moving on to statement 50. What they're telling, a special purpose machine tool performs only a limited number of specialized operation with great speed and precision. See what they're telling, special purpose machine where it will be utilized in the process of continuous production system. In the process of continuous production system, usually what they are going to do, they are going to utilize the special purpose machine tool. See what they are telling here, it performs only a limited number of specialized operation with great speed and precision. Yes, it is true because those particular special type of purpose machine, it will be utilized for some specific purpose itself. So accordingly what happens, the statement 50, whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 51. Now moving on to statement 51. What they're telling, strike and lockouts are controllable factors affecting capacity planning. Sorry, the strike and lockouts are uncontrollable factors. Those factors cannot be controlled by the management. So accordingly, the statement whatever they given, it is false. So accordingly, take down statement 51, it is false. Now moving on to statement 52. Moving on to statement 52. What they're telling, incentives are substitute for lower wages. Sorry, false. Usually the incentives will be given so as to encourage the improve the efficiency of the workers. It is not a substitute for lower wages. So accordingly the statement 52, whatever the given, it is false. Now moving on to statement 53. Now moving on to statement 53. What they are telling, linear programming does not consider uncertainty is false, because in the linear programming all the uncertainties will be taken into consideration and they are going to take the decision. So accordingly the statement 53, whatever the given it is, again it is false. Now let us move on to statement 54. Let's move on to statement 54. What they are telling, depending on the need, the maintenance activity may be centralized or decentralized. Depending on the need, what they are telling, whatever the maintenance activity will be there, it may be centralized or it may be decentralized. Sorry, 53 I should give it as true. Instead of typing true, I have considered false. Just take down. It is true because it is going to consider all the uncertainties. I told true, but I have typed it as false. Sorry. So 53 answer is true. Now moving on to 54. Moving on to 54. What they are telling, depending on the need, usually the maintenance activity can be centralized or decentralized. In centralized means where it will, the management itself is going to take the decision and they are going to assign which all the maintenance activities has to be carried. Decentralized means it will be given, the in charge will be given to the production manager itself, or whoever the maintenance management, whoever the in charge will be there, for them itself the responsibility will be given. Sometimes it may be centralized or sometimes it may be decentralized. So accordingly what happens, the statement 54, whatever they are given it is true. Whatever they are given it is true. Now moving on to statement 55. Now moving on to statement 55. What they are telling, in general, long range forecasting is more useful in production planning. False. Usually in production planning, which range forecasting is useful? Short range forecasting is useful. So accordingly the statement 55, whatever they are given it is false. Whatever they are given it is false. Now let us move on to statement 56. Let us move on to statement 56. What they are telling, there is a limit beyond which the labor productivity cannot be improved. There is a limit beyond where the labor productivity cannot be improved. Yes, the statement is true. Because there is a certain limit. Only to that extent we can improve the labor productivity. More than that we cannot improve. So accordingly the statement is true. Now let us move on to statement 57. Statement 57. What they are telling, breakdown maintenance does not require use of standby machines. False, because in the breakdown maintenance the standby machines will be utilized. If they go for breakdown maintenance, what happens when the breakdown happens for the available equipments or machine, means the production will be stopped. No, so as not to create any disturbance in the production. Not to create any disturbance in the production. Usually in the organization what they are going to do, they are going to have the standby machines. They are going to have the standby machines. So here what they are doing, does not require. Actually they require standby machines. So accordingly the statement 57, whatever they are given it is false. They are given it is false. So now let us move on to statement 58. Now let us move on to statement 58. What they are telling, activity sampling. Activity sampling is not a technique of job evaluation. Yes, it is true. Activity sampling is not the method of job evaluation. So accordingly, the statement it is true. Now let us move on to statement 59. Statement 59. What they are telling, a good plant layout is one of the factors in efficient utilization of labor. Yes, the statement is true. So because when the good plant layout will be available, it is going to provide the safety to the labor. So accordingly, effective utilization of the labor can be made. So accordingly, the statement 59, whatever they are given, again it is true. Again it is true. Now let us move on to statement 60. Let us move on to statement 60. What they are telling? The primary concern of production planning and control is the delivery of products to customer or to inventory stocks according to some predetermined schedule. See what they're telling. What is the main function of production planning and control? They're telling to deliver the products to customers, yes, and to inventory stocks according to some predetermined schedule. So yes, the statement whatever they given it is true, because that will be the primary objective of what? Production planning and control. So accordingly the statement 60 is true. Now let us move on to statement 61. Let us move on to statement 61. What they are telling? Capacity refers to minimum load an operating unit can handle. Sorry, capacity means what? Maximum load, how much an operating unit can handle. So they are given the word minimum. So accordingly, actually when it will be true means when capacity means it is going to refer how much maximum load that operation unit can handle. That we are going to call it as capacity. Here they are given minimum load. So accordingly the statement is false. Accordingly the statement is false. Now moving on to statement 62. Now moving on to statement 62. What they are telling? Job shop process is used when a very highly standardized product is designed in high volumes. See, usually in job shop process what happens? Usually they are going to, whatever the kind of job will be performed, it is going to differ from one job to another, and whatever the quantity of volume under job shop will be what? It will be low. They are not going to produce high volumes. They are going to produce the lesser volume. Standardized product will be there, but they are going to produce how much volume? Low volumes. But they are given high volumes. So accordingly, the statement 62, whatever they are given, again it is false. Now let us move on to statement 63. Now let us move on to statement 63. What they are telling? The productivity is a measure of how much input is required to achieve a given productivity. See what is productivity? Yes. With the help of productivity, what they are going to measure? How much input is required to achieve the given output. Means the output divided by input, we are going to tell it as productivity. So the statement whatever they are given, 63, it is true. It is true. Now moving on to statement 64. Moving on to statement 64. What they're doing? One of the limitation of Gantt chart is that it does not clearly indicate the details regarding progress of activities. True. Because with the help of Gantt chart, what they are going to do? Usually Gantt chart will be utilized for what purpose? We can tell the Gantt chart whatever is a tool is there. It will be one of the popular tool in the project management. With the help of Gantt chart, what we can know, it basically helps in drills down the activities which need to be done by a fixed time period. Means with the help of Gantt chart, which activities has to be completed within the fixed time can be known with the help of Gantt chart. And usually the Gantt chart will be used for tracking the project schedules. For what purpose the Gantt chart will be utilized? For the purpose of tracking the project schedules, they are going to utilize the Gantt chart. Here what they are telling, it does not clearly indicate the details regarding the progress of activities they are telling. Actually, it is going to indicate. It is going to indicate. So accordingly, it is not the limitation. So according to the statement 64, whatever they are given it is false. Sorry, the statement whatever they are given it is true. It is. The statement whatever they are given it is true, because it is one of the limitation. It is not going to provide the details regarding the progress of activities. Only it helps in completing the activities within the fixed time. Only that can be known with the help of Gantt chart, but it is not going to provide the data regarding progress regarding activities. So according to the statement 64, whatever they are given it is true. Now let us move on to Statement 65. What they are telling? Prevention maintenance ensures greater safety to workers. Yes, because it is going to avoid the sudden breakdowns. As it helps in avoiding the sudden breakdowns, so accordingly, the statement 65, whatever they are given, it is true. It is true. Now moving on to statement 66. Moving on to statement 66. What they are telling? Short-term forecasting is useful to serve the purpose of estimating the inventory requirement. Yes, it is true. Again, when they are going to estimate how much inventory is required for the purpose of production, they go for what? Short-term forecasting. So accordingly, the statement 66, whatever they are given, it is true. Now let us move on to statement 67. Let us move on to statement 67. What they're telling? The life cycle of a product has many points of similar with that of the human life cycle. As the human life cycle is having the various points, in the same way the product life cycle has the different points. So the statement is true. See, in human life cycle also, what we have: birth, childhood, youth, and old age. Yes or no? Birth, born, like infant stage we can tell, like then childhood, youth stage, and old age. In the same way, in product life cycle also, what we have: four stages: introduction stage, growth stage, maturity stage, and decline stage. So the sentence whatever they are given, it is true. Sentence whatever they are given, it is true. Now let us move on to statement 68. Let's move on to statement 68. What they are telling? The linear programming problem has two basic parts: the objective function and the constraint set. Yes, again, in linear programming they are going to consider two main objectives. What are those? One is the objective function they are going to take into consideration, and what are the constraints to reach that objective they are going to consider. So accordingly, whatever the statement they are given, it is true. The statement whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 69. Now let us move on to statement 69. What they are telling? The most widely used index of productivity is to work out the output per machine hour. See, with the help of productivity, output to that of the input. Input may be of anything. It may be of raw material, it may be of machine hour, it may be of labor hours. Anything may be the input. Here what they are telling? Only of machine hours. So accordingly, the statement will be false. Accordingly, the statement will be false. Now moving on to statement 70. Now moving on to statement 70. Statement 70. What they are telling? PERT is designed for repetitive project, whereas CPM is suitable for non-repetitive projects. Sorry, it is the statement what they are given, it is wrong. Why? Because the PERT will be utilized for non-repetitive projects like research and development and projects and all. They are going to apply PERT. When it comes to CPM, that will be applied for repetitive projects like civil construction, industries and all. They are going to apply CPM. So according to the statement 70, whatever they are given, it is false. Whatever they are given, it is false. Now let us move on to statement 71. Let us move on to statement 71. What they are telling? Wear and obsolescence are two main causes for replacement of machinery in every aspect of life. Yes, that is true. Because usually due to wear and tear and due to the obsolescence itself, usually what happens, the machinery will be replaced. So accordingly, the statement 71, whatever they are given, it is true. Whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 72. Moving on to statement 72. What they are telling? A work stoppage generally reduces the cost of production. False. Usually the work stoppage, what happens? It is going to increase the cost of production. So accordingly, the statement is false. So take down false. Now statement 73. Statement 73. What they tell? Depending on the need, the maintenance activity may be centralized or decentralized. Yes, the statement is true. Already, actually, it is a repeated question. Already, it is covered. Yes or no? So, take down statement 73. It is true. Now, moving on to statement 74. Moving on to statement 74. What they are telling? More suitable layout for continuous production is matrix layout. Matrix layout. Answer is false, because for continuous production the line layout will be the most suitable. Which layout? The line layout, not the matrix layout. So accordingly the statement 74, whatever they are given, it is false. Whatever they are given, it is false. Now moving on to statement 75. Now moving on to statement 75. What they are telling? Addition of value to raw material through application of technology is production. Yes, true. Means converting the raw materials into finished goods with the help of technology, we are going to call it as production. So according to the statement 75, whatever they are given, it is true. Now moving on to statement 76. Moving on to statement 76. What they're telling? Breakdown maintenance does not require use of standby machines. False, because at the time of breakdown maintenance, so that not to stop the production. Not to stop the production. Usually all the organization they have standby machines, but here what they're telling does not require. Again the statement is false. Again this is also repeated question actually. Statement is false. Now moving on to statement 77. Moving on to statement 77. What they're telling? The full form of the word MRP in the term MRP2 is material requirement planning. The statement is false, because in MRP2 the full form is manufacturing resource planning. MRP1 stands for material requirement planning. MRP1 stands for what? Material requirement planning. MRP2 stands for manufacturing resource planning. So accordingly the statement, whatever the 77 they are given, it is false. It is false. Now let us move on to statement 78. Let's move on to statement 78. What they're telling? Q discipline refers to the order in which customers are processed. It is true. Means with the help of Q discipline we will come to know in which order, in which sequence the customers have been provided the service can be known. So accordingly the statement 78, whatever they given, it is true. Statement 78 is true. Now let us move on to statement 79. Let us move on to statement 79. What they're telling? ISO standards are reviewed every 4 years and revised if needed. False. The statement is false. Usually what happens? ISO standard will be revised whenever it is required. Whenever it is required. It's not that condition every 4 years they are going to do, like that condition is not there. So accordingly the statement 79 is false. Now moving on to statement 80. The CPM has the advantage of decreasing completion time by probability spending more money. Yes, the statement is true, because by applying the concept of crashing, we can reduce the duration of the project by increasing the total cost. Yes or no? So accordingly, the statement 80 we can consider it as true. Statement 80, it is true. Now moving on to the last statement we have is statement 81. What they are telling? The rotatable space are spare parts which are required regularly and in substantial number. Sorry, false. Because usually the rotatable space will be utilized for some specific machines. So accordingly, they cannot be required in regular. It is not a common space and it will be required in lesser number. So according to the statement 81, whatever they given, it is false. Statement 81, whatever they given, it is false. Getting the point. So with that, all the statements whether the true or false is completed. Next what we have? Next we have the concept of strategic management. See, this paper 9, whatever we are having, OM and SM. OM stands for operation management. Till now, whatever I covered, choose the correct answer, match the following, or state whether the statement are true or false. It is related to operation management. Now they have given the concept of strategic management. Usually as a part of your syllabus in strategic management, in your material as a syllabus you are just having 3 chapters. 3 chapters and which is having around 30 marks weightage. Getting the point? 30 marks weightage because OM operation management is having 70 marks weightage and strategic management is having 30 marks weightage. Okay, in the next video I'll be covering this particular section B of paper 9 strategic management. Thank you.